Dzień dobry, naszym gościem dzisiaj jest wyjątkowa osoba, Garri Kasparow, wybitny szachista, wielokrotny mistrz świata, no a ostatnio człowiek znany przede wszystkim jako aktywista polityczny. Hello Mr. Kasparow, nice to have you here in Poland, in Warsaw and in Super Express. I want to ask you, because you came to Superbet Rapid and Blitz tournament, do you as a person right now, do you follow chess very often, very diligently? Are you a supporter, just to say that?
I don't think I will ever stop supporting and promoting the game of chess. I follow as much as I can. By the way, I'm a member of the board of Grand Chess Tour, the organization that is behind this event. And I was in Romania also promoting the Superbet event in Bucharest. I will be in Zagreb, of course, both as the representative of Grand Chess Tour and the citizen of Croatia. So I keep running some of the chess programs through Kasparov Chess Foundation with young stars, both in America and in Europe. I would say about 20% of my time now, maybe a bit less now these days, is still devoted to the game of chess, not so much for playing, but for promoting it.
I wanted to ask about playing anyway. So how about playing? Do you have time to play just for fun or whatever
for fun,
reason?
I can make a few moves, on the internet, so just, when I have time. But look, I know I'm an amateur. I have other things to do now, and as you can guess, lately my mind was totally preoccupied with other games that have nothing to do with chess.
Yeah, but if you're saying you're an amateur, it sounds
No,
strange.
but amateur means, I'm not a professional. So that's, for me, this is simply opposite. Professional being, just it's working, on the game and just, spending your time. So look, I still can move the pieces and I still can maybe upset even the strongest players in the world, once or twice. But again, for me, it's fun. So, and for them, it's a job.
And it's part of your activity, as you said. So how about this, the 80%, the rest of your activity? I know, of course, because you're very active in social media. I wanted to ask you about, of course, going into the situation in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, and what's going on there. But in sport context, do you think the sport world did enough after this aggression of Putin against Ukraine, enough to isolate Russians, to move them away from the sports?
I wish we had this is the unified approach from IOC, from FIFA, from all the organizations. I believe that they're doing a lot. So that's because it was not left without a response. Obviously, in some of the organizations, we see less resolve to go after Russian politicians in sport, and there's still big debate about Russian athletes. So I would suggest a very simple formula how to deal with Russian athletes, because I was one of the most decorated Soviet Russian athletes, and I feel a bit uncomfortable with just arguing for absolute embargo on their participation. But I think there's one condition, and I strongly suggest that Wimbledon, tennis events, they'll put this test. It's what litmus test. Anyone who wants to play in this, any Russian professional who wants to play, must sign a clear declaration. I undersigned, condemn criminal war launched on Ukraine by illegitimate Putin regime, and I fully support territorial integrity of Ukraine. Public statement. If it's done, please play. So I'm sure many of them will simply, withdraw, but at least you should give them this chance. It's a fair statement. So, because anyone who signs this statement may not come back to Russia. So, but give the chance. Maybe they'll decide. I think otherwise simply saying, no, you're Russian, you cannot play. I mean, I'm also Russian. So, okay, I'm the staunchest critic of Putin probably ever. But, I understand that even I should have feel some shame when I talk to Ukrainians. Because maybe I didn't do enough to stop Putin's, from gaining power and just becoming the monster he is today. But every Russian now has to feel that. But you cannot simply, just say everybody who speaks Russian, who has Russian passport, should be, should be pushed away from international arena. I think we should clearly give chance to separate. And again, I think we have many Russians now who forced to live in exile that will be happy to sign that declaration. And that could be a beginning. Because, we could have maybe virtual South Korea versus big North Korea in Moscow.
But anyway, Wimbledon did something like this. It's not a declaration. It's an organizer's decision. It's different. It's different.
But that's again, it's a decision. But I wish they talk to Roland Garros, to Australia Open, to US Open, and have one policy. And again, give them chance to cut ties with criminal Putin regime. It will be much stronger, and also it will not put all of them in one crowd, because maybe some of them are willing to do that. Fine. And of course, you cannot play under this Russian flag. So you should play under whatever flag you want, but not this one, because I also think that if one day we have new Russia, it must change the flag. And there's, as you see, many Russian activists protesting the war around the world. They already use the white flag, like washing the red stripe. No, again, it's very symbolic. The new Russian flag must not have any color of blood on it.
You are one of the strongest Putin's critics, and you've been like this for years, actually. So,
20, almost 22 years.
Yeah, because and we can stress right now that everything you said, the lesson was not learned, actually.
Look, okay. I could feel like Winston Churchill, so that's who has been warning, but that was much shorter period. And I have to say that, there's the moment when Hitler moved from, being a threat to a monster, so it was much shorter. Here with Putin, it took years, actually more than 2 decades. And it's not that, I said that Putin would be bad as this. He said it himself. He kept talking about his plans. Like collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. He repeatedly said that. He talked about, in 2007, back in 2007, in Munich, Security Conference, 15 years ago, Europe has to return to the spheres of influence. That's the language from Molotov-Ribbentrop. That's the language Stalin and Hitler used to divide Europe. And that was Putin's plan. NATO go back to 1997 borders. Soviet Union, disappeared, but Russia, as a successor, must have rights to control directly or indirectly former Soviet republics and even Eastern Europe. He said it. And by the way, he acted. He attacked the Republic of Georgia. He annexed Crimea. He ignited war in eastern Ukraine. And his aggression against Ukraine, the latest act, had been prepared for over 8 years. Russian television, Russian media, had been poisoning the minds of Russians, saying Ukraine was not a real state. It's like a nonsense on the map that we just have to liquidate. So most goes to Russia, something maybe go to Poland or to Hungary, but Ukraine for Putin was something similar to what Poland was for Stalin. It's just something that must be erased from the map. So why it was ignored? Because I think it's the free world, after the end of the Cold War, lost its fighting spirit. So, yes, they knew Putin was kind of a criminal, a thief, a mafia boss, but he would never do that. If you hear the comments from the Western politicians over 20 years, it's a long list of what Putin would never do. He would never do this. He would never do that. Because it would look so bad. He did it. And just before this war, the war. So did you hear so many people say, no, he would never do that? So even in Ukraine, 4 days before the war, I was on one of the Ukrainian channels, one of the big talk shows. And I was vehemently attacked by one of the Ukrainian political commentators saying, why you are panicking? Why are you telling us about the war? Ukrainian economy is paralyzed. We live under this fear, and people like you are spreading this. I said, look, I'm Russian. I don't feel comfortable arguing with you. I pray God I'm wrong. I had enough glory in my life so I can swallow my pride. But if I'm right, you're dealing with a predator that has no allergy for blood. So the price you will pay, if I'm right, will be horrible. Why don't you consider that there's a chance 4 days before the war?
Mm-hmm. So the war actually was not a surprise for you in any possible way?
Look, let's go back to January, February this year. We're dealing with Putin, the man who started his rule with the war in Chechnya, carpet bombing of Grozny, the man who destroyed all independent media in Russia, the man who killed his political opponents using polonium or nuclear agents, the man who took part of the Republic of Georgia attack, annexed Crimea, started war in eastern Ukraine, carpet bombed Aleppo, propelled Bashar al-Assad, just back to power, attacked the United States and other countries, through his hybrid wars. That's what's his record, and kept saying that Ukraine, had to be erased from the map. Now, if this man, this dictator, brings 200,000 troops to surround Ukraine from north, east, and south, also orders his Pacific fleet, it's a long way, to Black Sea, I think we
have a problem.
I think it's what else you need? So this, and then you hear people say, "Oh, he's probably trying to strengthen his bargaining position." No, he was preparing for war, and now, by the way, we learned that he signed already the order. It's back in January, and then in February he talks about annexation. Okay, not annexation. It's a recognition of these quasi republics. This is Donetsk and Luhansk. So it's like you have sign on the wall, one after another, and I said, no, maybe that's not true. So I think that we dealing with Putin, we should always assume the worst. So if you think it's really bad, let's consider that. So because it's our only chance to prevent it from happening. At least now we seriously preparing for Putin's desperate attempt to use nukes. And I don't think he will do that, because I think it's no longer a surprise. So, and I believe that even without saying that, the Brits and Americans ready to respond. So at least for the tactical nukes.
What's the current status of this war? I mean, does Putin win? Does he win this war? No. Do Ukrainians win currently, or maybe they're in the process of winning, or it's not that simple?
Look, no. I know the limits of my ignorance, and I don't want to pretend to be a military expert here, saying, "Oh, I know exactly what's happening." I'm an observer, and I analyze the facts that are available to me as just as a reader of a consumer of the news, and also I talk to people here and there, so that's why I can make a picture in my mind. So clearly, Putin is not winning the war. That's it. His original goal was to destroy Ukraine as a state, take over Kyiv, bring his puppet. Failed. That's not. Now he tried to consolidate his gains in eastern Ukraine, basically to cut Ukraine from the sea. Also, is not going to happen. Now Russia's still kicking here and there, but it seems that they are no longer capable of having the real attack. Now, if we look at strategically, so then Ukraine is on a winning streak, but that may take time. I would pay attention to the economic factor. Ukraine has been receiving almost unlimited military support coming from America and European allies. Yes, it's slower than we wanted. It's still not, the full list of what they wish, but clearly it's changing the situation on the ground. Russia is running low on weapons, because most of Russian industries they desperately need Western spare parts, and sanctions are just putting on hold a lot of this production. You look at the motivation of soldiers. Clearly, that the Ukrainians are motivated. Russians are they're still fighting, but I don't think there's the same motivation there. And also the numbers will be changing in Ukraine's favor, because Ukraine now is bringing more and more soldiers to the front line, while I don't think Putin is ready to take a risk of mass mobilization. I think one of the reasons that he didn't do that, he wasn't sure what will happen with people if they get weapons. So I see no real opportunity for Putin and his generals to change this course of the war. That's why now we hear more and more talks about ceasefire. And that's why we have this noises from Moscow, and Putin's language is much less aggressive. For instance, Finland and Sweden, all of a sudden you say, okay, big deal. So after saying, oh, we would punish you, big deal. So this is, you go to NATO, fine. I think it means he's now recognizing the geopolitical reality. And also, you see that's all what I would call Putin's agents of influence in the free world. They just, they started talking about the ceasefire. So it's on top you have President Macron, but then you have many top, political pundits like Richard Haas, the chairman of the president of Council for Relations in America. You have David Ignatius from CNN. You have Jeffrey Sachs. You have so many articles now saying time to actually to fix the situation. Great idea. People being killed. Let's stop it. But that means ceasefire. You preserve Russian gains. I think that's Putin's goal now, because they know that in a month it will be too late, and it's not that. It's unrealistic thinking that Ukrainians can go to the line of the 24th of February and stop there, because in order to get there, they have to crush Russian resistance. Then they will move all the way to Donetsk, Luhansk, and Sevastopol. That's very clear. So that's why I think this is the Russian, strategy now is to find a way of freezing the situation now, which, by the way, Ukrainians don't want anymore. 2 months ago, they were willing to negotiate, because Zelensky knew that the situation was dire. Right now, again, following the press reports, Ukrainians stopped any contact with Russia because they believe they're winning.
One last question about partly about chess also, because I guess that game of chess and the war strategy have something in common. So how would you, in that context, assess Putin as a player, let's say?
Very poor player, because it's he's not the chess player, because dictators don't like playing chess. Chess is the game where all information is available, 100%. So you have your pieces, I have my pieces. I know what you have. So Putin preferred to play games like poker, by bluffing. So you can have a weak hand, but you can bluff. And I think now he reached a point where his bluff doesn't work. That's why you see him losing, because he always bluffed. I will do this. Now, okay, fine, do it. Oh, we have nukes. Okay, so this is all these threats didn't work out. And what we found out, that his army, it was not what he was supposed to be. And one of the reasons is corruption. This is a mistake that many in the West did, but also Putin. In a country that was so corrupt, in a country where corruption was not the problem but the system. So how did you expect the army, that the institution that had the biggest budget and so many secret articles, will be free of corruption? So the generals are the same bureaucrats. So this is, if everybody is stealing, why not us? So when we saw that there's hundreds of billions of dollars that Putin spent on the army, this didn't materialize in practical results.
Okay, Mr. Kasparov, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.